The Houston Rockets just played their first playoff game in about half a decade, and they lost in fairly ugly fashion to the Golden State Warriors. Again. But guess what? My generally negative self is actually feeling okay about it all. I'm Paul Gallant, and this is the Gallant Says podcast.
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people wonder.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to say.
Grow up, are you kidding me? Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Hello and welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast. It is early April 21st, 2025, live on YouTube at Gallant Says, on X or Twitter at Gallant Says, and on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. We're having some technical difficulties on the Instagram side of things. You can generally catch this Mondays through Fridays at about 4 p.m. Central Time, and occasionally after major Houston sporting events. It's also available wherever you get your podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. If you ever want to cut me off mid-thought, you can super chat me on YouTube or Twitch, and I'll play this. But I will eventually get to your comments. That was an ugly-ass game, which is why it's kind of crazy to say that I'm still optimistic about the Houston Rockets' chances after they lost this game last night. It's a 7-game series, right? Are you really going to take a look at a 95-85 loss to the Warriors and say this thing's over? Maybe if you haven't seen any playoff basketball in a while and you're just used to how things generally go for the Rockets against the Warriors, or just Houston sports in general going all the way back in the day, okay, I can understand why. But this is one of those games where I look at it, and even though the Rockets played very poorly in a lot of different ways, I'm going to focus on a couple of things as to why, even though an 18 turnover game shouldn't have you feeling great, even though a 20% from three-point land game shouldn't have you feeling great, I'm thinking about it from this perspective. And apparently the frame rate's not doing so hot on the internet, so we might need to start this bad boy over again. But I feel like they found something towards the end of this game that if they get back to and they continue to use, that the Warriors don't really have a matchup for it. I don't think the Warriors can handle the size that the Rockets were throwing out there at times. I really don't think they can. And I say that because take a look at how well the Rockets played when they had Steven Adams out there and when they had Jabari Smith Jr. out there. Alperen Sengun, who is the Rockets' most skilled player and generally their most consistent player. Jalen Green, he's up and down. Had an 11 for 18 day from the field, scoring 26 points with 9 rebounds. It was a really impressive performance. He looked like he could not be stopped in the first 6 minutes. As the game went on, okay, he was having a tough time. There were moments where he was getting trapped underneath the basket. He was spinning around back and forth, and I feel like the referees could have easily called him for a couple of travels. So that's not great. But Sengun played very well in this game. For all the Turkish people out there who get pissed off at me whenever I talk about the Houston Rockets. But Jabari Smith came into this game. He provided a much-needed spark, I thought. He had 11 points. He hit every single shot he took. 3 of 3 from the field. A 3-point shot as well. Hit 4 free throws. Had 6 rebounds. And Steven Adams in particular. Shout out to Steven Adams, Stat Guy, who is one of my favorite Rockets Twitter accounts. Steven Adams comes in. He's got 6 points in the game. 12 rebounds. And take a look at the numbers afterwards. The Rockets out-rebounded the Warriors 52-36. they were destroying them on the offensive glass, 22-6. So I'm focusing on that good out of a game between the Warriors and Rockets where the Warriors won. I think that there's something to work with right there. The real question is, are the Rockets going to be able to get more from, first off, Jalen Green? This is a big series for Jalen Green. The rumors about the Rockets potentially looking at somebody to trade for this offseason have cooled down of late, but I think it's been because for the last couple of weeks, we've known that the Rockets are going to be the 2 seed in the playoffs. So we've just been sitting back, twiddling our thumbs, waiting to see who the Rockets would end up playing in the first round. And I think some of us looked at, especially the last time that Jalen Green played against the Warriors, where he had a 20-plus point performance, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I mean, sure, he's inconsistent, but the guy, he has been making some real progress over the course of the year. He seems to be getting better. So you're hoping that, okay, game against Golden State, he's going to just look better than he did tonight. Tonight, he was bad. And I think some of it was bad luck. You know, I feel like he just got some bad rolls a couple of times with balls that did at the very least hit the rim. But it's a 3 for 15 night. It's a 7-point game. Hey, at least he put in the effort on the defensive end, and he got 8 rebounds in the game. And it's not like he checked out like he might have in years past, like James Harden definitely would have. But if you're Jalen Green, a performance like this definitely makes it easier for the Rockets to look at you in the mirror and say, you know what? This ain't going to work out. This ain't going to work out. We need to have somebody better than you. So maybe he becomes trade chip number 1. Green's got to play better than he played tonight. Also, Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet in this game was 4 of 19 from the field for just 10 points. Yo, you got to be better than that. And I think the thing with Fred VanVleet that's so frustrating, which is why I know there's a lot of Rockets fans out there that are constantly calling for him to get benched. When VanVleet shoots, he just doesn't stop. He has said this before, that if he shoots 10, 15 times in a game and he misses all of the shots, he's just going to keep going and going and going and going and going. Like, he'll go 0 for 20. He doesn't care. He's got the confidence. He's going to keep on putting the ball up. But at a certain point as a shooter, if you're missing, if Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green are honest with themselves on a night where the combined 2 shot 7 for 34 from the field, and worse, 2 for 17 from three-point land. Isn't there a certain point where you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, it's just not my night? But the problem is, this Rockets team doesn't have guys outside of those 2 who can really create their shots. Şengün can to a degree, but he's not confident enough from outside taking threes. And every now and then underneath the basket, some gimme bunnies for him are randomly difficult. That's been a weird development this season. And if people are crashing down on Şengün when he gets the ball and double teaming him on a night like he had tonight, where he's 11 of 18 from the field scoring 26, somebody else should be open. And Şengün's a really good passer. So you throw it out to VanVleet, you throw it out to Green. But what happens when those guys take the shot and they miss it? What happens when Dylan Brooks takes the shot and misses it? He was 3 of 9 from the field. Amin Thompson, 4 of 9. Again, 4 of 9. It's not that bad, but when you think about what Thompson does best, which is driving through the lane, you need more out of him than that. To bring it back to VanVleet and Jalen Green, it's really as simple as, if the shot is open, they have to hit it. And as the only guys who can create their own shots regularly, when they are missing and when they are taking shots which is Jalen Green's worst quality, out of control in the middle of the lane, or what is Fred VanVleet's worst quality, a pull-up three from right outside, from the top of the three-point circle, as if you're Steph Curry. Like, you do shit like that, what do you think is going to happen? Especially on a night where you're not shooting very well. So that's one of those things that between those two, those are the two best shot creators for the Rockets. They're not going to win a series if shooting like this continues. Here's the thing, though. I just have a hard time imagining that both VanVleet and Green are going to shoot like this for a whole series. Don't you? I mean, they're going to be this bad all series long. They certainly could still struggle, not be very good. The Warriors do play very good defense, and I do think that if there's any prediction I'm going to make in this series, I do think it still goes 7. I'm not feeling as great about picking the Rockets to win this in 7, but I think these two teams defensively play very well against one another, and clearly if the referees are going to be the same refs all series long, they let them really play tonight, which I liked, and they let a lot of things go. So, with that in mind, I still feel pretty good about this series, but you can't have performances that are like this, and hopefully this is the one for both VanVleet and Jalen Green. Odds are there will be another game where the two struggle, maybe 2 more games where the two struggle. Scoring is the Rockets' big problem at this moment in time, and that's why you constantly see all these rumors about them potentially going after someone like Kevin Durant or a Devin Booker, I don't know what you do about guys who can't stop shooting, who aren't shooting particularly well. If you're Ime Udoka, do you talk to them on the bench, especially when Fred VanVleet has said, hey, I'm just going to keep shooting? Do you want to take that guy's confidence away? It's a tricky position for a coach to be in, to say, hey, just stop fucking shooting, man. You can't hit anything tonight. But I think that would have been necessary tonight. And I also think that, there were stretches in this game where Green was just out. He played only 31 minutes among Rockets starters. That's the fewest amount of minutes. He missed a lot of time in the first half. I don't know if he was doing something that Udoka didn't like. I felt like, at the very least, he bought in, considering he didn't play much in the first half when he came back in, and you saw it on the defensive glass. And he had 8 rebounds in the game, which is pretty damn impressive. You don't expect Jalen Green to have a night like that. And I thought he was engaged still defensively, too. But when you shoot like that, what do you tell Jalen Green? Like, hey, stop? Because that would kill his confidence. And considering this team sort of hesitates and sometimes just continues to dribble around in a circle and throw up a bad shot at the end of the shot clock, like that's not winning basketball, So that closer, they definitely need him. If this is how you look against a very different Golden State Warriors team from years past, I do have some questions about the shooting side of things. One last thought. This is the very obvious thought. Steph Curry's so fucking good. I'll admit, and I know a lot of Rockets fans have always been annoyed with me for this, but I've been a huge Steph Curry fan ever since I saw him watching with my buddies back in college in our dorms tear up the NCAA tournament in 2008. I've been a huge fan ever since then. I, not being a NBA draft expert, was shocked that Steph fell as far as he did in the NBA draft behind my favorite player from Syracuse at the time, Johnny Flynn. I was still stunned that Flynn went ahead of him. I thought Flynn would be good. Obviously, that didn't happen. I didn't think Steph Curry would be this, but I know this will piss some people off. I think Steph Curry's a better player than Kobe was. I understand that people are like, oh, well, Kobe was more complete, but I've never seen a shooter as terrifying as Steph Curry. I'm going to show you something that happened before today's game that was just a bad omen. I went to the game at Toyota Center. I was there. And right before the game began, during shoot-around, I saw Steph Curry do this. The camera angle's not great, but in case you can't see it, Steph is just screwing around and throws the ball as high up in the air as he possibly can. And you can just keep watching this. And it drops in the hoop. It barely even grazes the net as it falls through the hoop. This is insane. This is the shit that he does. This is just fucking around. And then you see in the game multiple moments where you're wondering, how the fuck did he do that? He's going to his right. He falls down. He hits a three-point shot. He shoots from the Toyota Center logo. He splits two defenders and dribbles easily to the bucket for a layup. I mean, sure, from time to time, he gets fouls that he doesn't deserve. But good fucking God. Sorry to say this the day after Easter. The man is a god out there. And my hope is that he's only got a few more of these left in him the rest of this series. The last time we saw the Rockets play the Warriors, remember, Steph Curry got held to 3 points. Clearly, he took that personally, and he was outstanding in tonight's game. How many more times does he do that the rest of the series? Truly, I couldn't tell you. It feels like if he does it once, he's definitely going to be able to do it again. But that brings me back to the original point that I had. Well, I'm actually pretty still optimistic about the Rockets' chances in this series. In a game where the Rockets, at times, were getting their doors blown off, down 20-plus points. In a game where they turned the ball over a lot, where they seemed completely directionless and headless on offense, where they couldn't shoot, and specifically their two best ball handlers, Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet, were awful from outside. In a game where so many things went poorly. Yes, they still lost by 10. But I feel really good about the size matchup that the Rockets have. The Rockets are just a bigger team than Golden State. And if they have Jabari Smith and Steven Adams out there a little bit more in game 2 on Wednesday, I feel like you're going to see some of the same results where the Rockets are going to out-rebound the shit out of Golden State, get second chance points. I mean, Steven Adams was so awesome in this game when he came in. Offensive board after offensive board after offensive board, and they always felt like they happened in pivotal moments. Jabari Smith Jr. as well. I mean, he's so tall. Who's covering him? Who's contesting his shot? This team has size, and I think they got to play to their strength, because if you take a look at this Warriors team, they don't have that. And yes, Golden State has Steph Curry, and they have Jimmy Butler, and the two of them, Curry had 31 points, 12 of 19 from the field, 5 of 9 from outside. Jimmy Butler was 10 of 19 from the field, only got to the free throw line 6 times. I do like how the refs let this game play out. Like, you got two killers as far as scoring goes in Curry and Butler. The Rockets do not have one of those guys, except for on certain nights, Şengün. Like, they don't have to the traditional scorers. So play to your strengths, and your strength is that you're just bigger than these guys. Bully them. Play with physicality and shove these guys around. Let's take a look at some comments here. Chris G comments on YouTube. Defense was good enough, but my big concern this series was VanVleet and Jalen Green. They are highly inconsistent. No doubt about it. My concern as well. That's why I said this past week, when I look at this series, it's really about how consistent Şengün can be. But, okay, Şengün scored 26 points here, and then the double team started, and he was moving around, and honestly was lucky he wasn't called for travels, trying to find people to wheel it out to. And just didn't happen. Tough loss for the Houston Rockets. 95-85. But all is not lost, and I'm still feeling pretty optimistic about it. I'll talk about it on my radio show tomorrow. You can check that out from noon to 3, the Paul Gallant Show, ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. It's the most interactive sports talk show in Houston. So if you're listening, I hope that you chime in on this game. We'll talk about the Astros as well tomorrow. If you haven't already, please give me a subscription. Like this video and subscribe on YouTube at Paul Gallant. That's what pays the bills when I'm doing this on the side. On Twitch at Gallant Says. Give me a sub if you haven't already. On X and Twitter at Gallant Says. And on Instagram at Sports Gallant. Follow me there. It's also on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. You can catch it Monday through Friday around 4 p.m. and occasionally after major Houston sporting events. I apologize for the hiatus. I have been adjusting to doing the solo radio show again. We'll talk a little more about that on Monday's show. You can get it in podcast form as well, wherever you get your podcasts. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, rate, and review the Gallant Says podcast on Apple and Spotify. If you roast my ass, I will read it on the show. So until this afternoon at 4 p.m. Central Time, so long, farewell, and have yourselves a wonderful